Good evening. It is Sunday, the 3rd of March, 2024. This is horrific. And I have with me the wonderful guys from Law. Tell us who you are and what your involvement is in the film, please.
I'm James.
Oh?
I'm James Bushe.
Just turn it on.
Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it?
You might want to check yours are on. Oh, yeah.
I'm James Bushe. I'm one of the writers and directors of Law.
Am I on? One,
Yeah.
two. Yeah, I'm Jacob Anderton, and I played James in the last chapter.
Hi, I'm Christopher Mulvin. I played Matthew in Keychain Man as well with Jacob.
So, James, why did you decide to do an anthology?
It mainly came from the frustration of not getting a feature film off the ground. So I'd done one feature film already, Cannibals and Carpet Fitters, and hadn't had much luck getting anything else going after that. So it was a case of I was weighing up making another short film, just because I wanted to do some filming. And I was chatting to Patrick Ryder, one of the other directors, and he was also wanting to do a feature film. And then I was like, well, why don't we just do an anthology then? We'll shoot 4 short films and make it into a feature. That's kind of how it came about.
And how did you manage to attract Richard Brake?
He was, I think he had the connection with Adam, didn't he?
No, well,
No?
I think, so the Richard Brake thing, I think, oh yeah, well, no, so yeah, there was another film project that I think that we were helping to produce, which is yet to get made, that he had accepted to come on board, and we was using his name to try and raise some finance, and then we sort of threw this at him, and I remember, do you remember the shoot? He was coming to film his scenes, and he was actually working on The Mandalorian at the time, and we were stood in a farmhouse in like North Yorkshire somewhere, in like essentially what was a bog. And I remember we were just having this conversation, going, we can't bring Richard Brake here. This is going to be mental. He's coming from like Disney. And then he turned up and he was like the loveliest dude in the world. And he
Yeah, it was great.
just stuck some wellies on and got involved, didn't he?
So yeah, that's how he came about.
Okay, so do you want to talk us through the formation of the different chapters a little bit?
Yeah, so basically, like I said, me and Patrick were trying to work out what we could do, and I was like, look, I like doing horror, and he wanted to dabble in horror. So we was like, okay, well, we'll do that. We'll come up with some short stories. Each has got to be different. Like, we have one that's serious, we have a comedy, the slasher. So he was going through it. He wanted to do a ghost one. He said we should do a monster one. I was like, okay, fine, and the serial killer one. So yeah, we started making out those stories. We had 3 of them. And then I was like, we need to have the bookend as well. Like, we need to have something to link them together, just not have them around a campfire. So that's what I came up with the idea of. It was maybe like a demon or someone tricking him into telling the story. So once we had that, yeah, we was able to put them all together. And we had 3 of them, and then Adam Bradwell, our producer, he brought on Greg Johnson to do the full story, which was the, what's it called again?
Cross
Crush Your Heart, that's it.
So Jacob, when did you become involved?
Yeah, so I have worked with the producer Adam Boabda for a long time. So when it was lockdown, wasn't it? It was COVID,
Yeah.
and none of us had done anything. That's why I've got loads of hair and I'm quite fat in it, because I think I was just like sitting in the house stuffing my face. But so Adam I've worked with for a long time, and he came to me and said, look, we're gonna try and do this thing. We're gonna do like a short, wait a bit, do another short, wait a bit, and that way we'll get a feature off the ground. And I'd done a bit of production work with Adam before, so I was like, yeah, sweet, I'm in. Like, you know, hoping that they would find a little part for me somewhere along the way. So I came in like pretty much day one, and then the first film that we shot was The Hidden Woman, which was the ghosty one. I sort of just worked as, I ended up doing all sorts. At one point I was a script supervisor. Don't know how to do that job, so there we go.
And same question for you, Chris.
Yeah, so I had worked previously before with Patrick Ryder and Jacob as well on a short film called The Code. And during COVID, Patrick was like, oh yeah, we're doing this feature film now, working with James Bushe as well. And I was like, I wanted to work with James for a while. And as soon as I read the script, I was thinking, oh, okay, this is quite a short feature film, and I didn't realise that it was actually an anthology. Afterwards, I was like, oh, there's multiple bits, and I hadn't seen any of the other storylines at all. So when we watched it in Leicester Square ourselves, it was so good just to see all of these different elements and different storylines coming together, and who was in it as well. I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. And as soon as Patrick was like, oh, I'd love to cast you as this character, I was like, I would straight away. Again, reading the script, I was like, I'm sold straight away. So that's how I got involved as well, and then meeting these guys as well and working with them, it was absolutely insane, and having an Odeon to ourselves as well.
It was, yeah.
In COVID time.
Perks of COVID.
Surreal.
Yeah.
That really did help us, the COVID situation, for that film at least.
Yeah. No, it's it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because for some people it really benefited them, and for others not so much. With some time past, when you look back at the film, do you have a favourite segment? Is there, this is slightly contentious question to ask you.
Yeah.
But when you look at it in reflection, because I mean you've been taking this around for what, a year?
I think the first screening was in August.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really do like, obviously, Cross Your Heart is just such a, because I wasn't involved in that at all. Really, like I read the script and I was like, this is brilliant, and seeing it together was just so much fun. It really made me laugh. But also, I do like some of the segments from obviously the Keychain with these guys. The banter between the three of them is just, I think, it's really funny, especially when they're arguing about, what should they do, and he's saying, oh, like she's quite fit now, and he's like, not the time. All these things. But watching it when they were doing it was just like, this is brilliant.
Have you got a favourite moment from shooting the film? Whether it's something that just fell apart ridiculously, or something that just looked so amazing and you can't believe that you got it.
I think there was a few good bits, but it was quite good. The Sarah's popcorn scoop death, because it was quite ambitious, and we was like, how are we going to pull this off? But it was like, let's just give it a go. But she was a trooper. She was up on the wall for ages, wasn't she? But seeing it was, when we was doing it was just so funny. And when she had the thing attached to her mouth, it was like
green screen from here, and then on another shot, just the head, this part was green, green.
It was, and to be fair, the whole the cinema was really cool. They're like, you can do what you like, and so we put holes in their walls where we pin the thing and stuff, and we're like, we've got to fix this later on, don't we?
Yeah. I also think the head pop. Because I think that was so practical. So the bit where he pulls the key and he pops his head off, he had. Do you remember the camera came round, didn't it? And then he had like a fake head in his hand. So that at the perfect moment he just sort of did a little jock in the air.
To fright himself and pulled off the other way.
That was when that worked. Because I think we were all stood behind the monitor and a couple of times where you can see his arms throwing it or what have you. But the one where he's his hands just flicked it and you can't see them and the head pops off, we were like, that's unbelievable.
And also Richard Brake, because we hadn't actually had a read with him until the day, and it was that worrying moment of is he going to turn up and be like, well, tell me the lines whilst we're filming, and he had a lot to say. But luckily he turned up and he was like, oh yeah, no, and he's asking questions about the lines. We're like, thank goodness he knows the lines. And then it's the first take, we're just doing a run through, it's the first shot when it's behind him and they're all listening to him. And we was like, yeah, you could just say a little bit, you should just, get yourself into it. And he literally just did the whole thing, didn't he? He did the whole monologue, and we were there going, shit, we should have been filming in front of him.
Do you remember The Fly?
Yeah.
So it was amazing. And I think coming from an acting perspective, it was a real lesson. I think personally, because I was sitting behind the monitor, there was so many things watching him work, and he just did different, just through different things, different options. And there was this one take where there was a fly, you could see it buzzing around, and then he sort of just went with that, and at one point just smacked himself in the side of the face, and then did this thing where he just and then carried on. And I was like, oh my God, he's just eating a fly. Unbelievable. Yeah. I didn't make the cut. We're getting a fly. We did a fly extended edition.
We tried to put it in, but it was
I would have gone with it. Make use of that. Can you tell us anything about the origins, from any of the instalments? They say that film comes from experiences often, or things that you have an interest in? Is there any origin story that, you know, from leads over from not necessarily real life, but something you've been interested in?
Not particularly. I mean, it was more like just like for the serial killer one. It's just, you know, a love letter to the 80s slasher films that I loved growing up with. Nothing particular. Sort of doing a homage, bordering on a spoof, but at the same time making it gory, and it wasn't really like based on anything. It's just with the Shadows one, it was a case of, it was a bit of a situation because all the stories had to actually sort of be real to make it work. And that was the monster one. It's like, well, suddenly, well, how do you do a monster one then? Because, you know, so then it was a case of, okay, it could be in his mind. And I always remember the film, is it Switchblade Romance?
Yeah.
And it has a very similar ending sort of thing. But I always remember when I watched that, I was like, that was, something didn't add up in my mind. And when I watched it back, you know, like, I was like, that doesn't quite make sense. So I was like, I've got to make sure at least it all literally ticks the boxes.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch it back, you can scrutinise it and it does all make sense.
Yeah.
So it's more like that, really.
Yeah. Chris, what are you working on at the moment, or what are you about to be working on?
Last year I was in a feature film called Feed Me, which is a horror feature film, which was absolutely insane. We went to America, we were out there, had a premiere out there in LA, which was unbelievable, and it toured as well around Europe.
It's so good, man.
And
So good.
it was so cool. Yeah, working with as well, which we both have Neil Ward as well, who plays the main cannibal in it. That's just sort of doing film festivals now as well, which has been amazing. And recently just doing a lot of auditions, things coming in and stuff now, while Feed Me is kind of picking up on the award sides and stuff. But yeah, just doing the grind of an actor, just seeing what comes up next and stuff. So,
and I know we weren't officially directly affected as such as, you know, people that work in indie film, but how are you finding the film market right now in terms of getting roles? Do you find it's quite complex at the moment, or do you think it's turning a corner?
It's, I mean, to be fair, with most of the work that I've found, it's actually through the connections of people I've worked with most of the time, like even with these ones as well. I've been so lucky to make friends on these film sets, and they go, oh, we're looking for another actor here if you want to audition here. So I've been very lucky in that sense itself, but with the side of agencies and stuff, having an agent, might as well just not have an agent. Most of the time it's very like one audition here, one audition there and stuff, but trying to climb that ladder, I feel it's very difficult with everything that's been going on recently as well in the industry itself. It's just quite tough to receive auditions recently, but then when you've got those connections with friends and stuff, you can always sort of stay in the loop, I guess, with certain work which comes out and stuff, which is good. So, yeah.
And how about you, Jacob?
So there's a couple of bits and bobs. I've just done a film that came out last week, actually, with Andrew Lee Potts, who was in that. It's called Firecracker, so that just came out on Amazon and Sky and Apple TV and various bits and bobs. I've just done a sort of really small budget sort of horror pirate film with Steve Lawson, Creative Studios. So that's coming out 1st of April. And yeah, just bits and pieces. I'm about to do a Christmas Hallmark film, which I'm not overly buzzed about, but there we go. Actually, no, I'm really happy to be doing it. That's gonna, just in case anyone watches that. But yeah, so yeah, a few bits and bobs.
And same question to you, James.
We've got a couple of projects trying to get going, all horrors. One of them, a medieval horror film called The Fort, which we're going to shoot up in Scotland. We're trying to get it going for, well, over
400
years. Over a year, maybe two. And we're getting close. Hopefully we might get to shoot at this. We've got 2 slots. We can be shooting like October, November or March, because the only 2 times the weather's okay.
Yep.
So hopefully we can make it happen this November, otherwise it's got to be next March. But you know, it's got good. We've got the location and everything sorted, and it's a good psychological horror. So we've got that, and me and Jake have been working on a little low budget horror film called Uninvited as well, which we're trying to get going, which is sort of like a Evil Dead type film in house.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I've got a roving mic out there, but is there anybody out there has any questions for any of the guys up here. You're going to have to shout it.
I'll go for one near the back.
Go on then.
When you made the film, you said 4 short stories stitched together. Over like how long, what period of time were these 4 stories and then the stitching together?
Oh, I think,
Like a year.
yeah, I mean, we'd shoot one, and then that was like over like a long weekend, and then we probably didn't come back for like a month, 2 months sometimes, the next one, and literally COVID was in full swing, and you couldn't do shooting, and it kept shutting down and stuff, and sometimes our actors or crew would get COVID, that would shut it down as well, so I think it could have been over like, it wasn't a year though, maybe like...
I think it was, you know, because we started...
7 months.
Hidden Woman was like January, February time.
Yeah, true.
And then I think that the
Bookends was the very end.
Bookends were the last thing we shot, and that was
I guess the weather was turning
best
shit
part of
then.
the year, I reckon.
Maybe it was October or September. So yeah, maybe 10 months. But it was literally like we'd shoot one and then we wouldn't come back for like 2 months.
Yeah. So Adam sort of had a theory that he would like, we would shoot one and then he would raise for the next one. So he sort of raised the budget on the move as we went along, sort of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I reckon we've got time for one more question, if anyone... I can see a hand over here. Can you shout your question?
My question is, you know, you've set it up quite nicely for a sequel. Are you thinking about doing that?
If it does well, yes. we've got like several, you know, like loads of things you can do with it, and like we've been thinking of, you know, you could have people trying to hunt Richard Brake down and stuff like that. So we've got lots of options on the air. So if it does well, for sure.
Money has offered a law to...
Yes, we put it in already.
And you say if it does well, you're doing really well on the festival circuit, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, it seems to be doing quite well there. It's just if it makes enough money for it to get a second one greenlit. We'd like to obviously go bigger, you know, it's been an aeroplane and blow up a plane and stuff, and, you know, go big.
Excellent. Well, if I can have a big round of applause for our panel, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing your...
Thank you guys.